Hey everyone, Brendan Snyder here. How are you? Thanks so much for joining me and welcome to a special review and unboxing for the Super Deluxe Edition of Yes's classic 1972 album, Close to the Edge. This thing here was just released on March 7th of 2025 and it's got some killer stuff inside it. It's 5 CDs, 1 LP, 1 Blu-ray. I'll do a full review, unboxing of this thing and get into it, break it all down for you guys in just a bit. But before we start, if you're new to my channel and you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do. Also leave a comment, hit like, all those things do help support my channel. I'd greatly appreciate it. And of course, if you turn on notifications, you'll never miss an episode and stay up to date on really cool things like this. We're talking about the brand new Super Deluxe Edition of Close to the Edge by Yes. So this one here, classic lineup: John Anderson, Chris Squire, Bill Bruford, Steve Howe, Rick Wakeman, all coming together on this. But of course, that's not the lineup that the band started with. So how did we get here? I want to jump back just a bit and talk a little bit leading up to this album. So band formed in 1968, releasing their self-titled debut album in 69. The lineup for that one, the original lineup of the group: John Anderson on vocals, Chris Squire on bass, Bill Bruford on drums, with Tony Kaye on piano and organ, and Peter Banks on guitar. And the lineup released a second album together, Time and a Word, in 1970. However, Peter Banks, not happy with the overall production or play of the album because they added an orchestra to it, decided to leave the group and was replaced by Steve Howe, who would really come in and set a signature sound for the band in terms of his virtuosity and what he brings to everything. And that new lineup released the Yes album in 1971, but unfortunately there was some friction between Steve Howe and Tony Kaye, as well as the fact that Tony Kaye didn't want to branch outside of playing piano and Hammond organ, and so that led to his dismissal, and they brought in Rick Wakeman. And so the new lineup of John Anderson, Chris Squire, Bill Bruford, Steve Howe, and Rick Wakeman, who's now playing piano, organ, synthesizer, mellotron, mini moog, and I'm sure a lot of other stuff as well, would then release the breakthrough album Fragile in 1971. Featured 4 group contributions on it, but there was also 5 solo contributions, 1 from each of the band members. And so very different style album than what they had already done in the past, which would sort of become a theme where they really kind of branch out and do something different and unique on each of the albums going forward, at least through the main part of the 70s. Hits on this included Roundabout, which would go all the way to number 13 on the Billboard Hot 100, Long Distance Runaround, and Heart of a Sunrise, which now leads us to what we want to talk about, their 5th studio album, Close to the Edge. So 1972, this one here being their most ambitious work to date, only featuring 3 songs on it. Side 1, in fact, which has the title track, clocking in at 19 minutes, so an entire side of the vinyl at the time. And it was a concept piece that was based on the Herman Hesse novel Siddhartha. Side 2 had 2 shorter songs on it: You and I, which is a folk-inspired song, as well as Siberian Katra, which is relatively a straight-ahead rock song, as there ever is going to be one from Yes. The album was another critical and commercial success like Fragile from 1971. The album featured a number of firsts for the band. Of course, the longer songs on here, the full side album length track of the title track, the beginning of the what I guess they deem as the bubble letters. Of course, I've got it in the shirt as well, from Roger Dean, who would then work with the band for many years to come. It was their highest charting album at the time, reaching number 3 in the US, and it was their greatest commercial success at the time, selling over 1 million copies in the US. So all in all, a very big, popular, critical album for the band itself, and it happens to also be my personal favorite from the group, at least out of their heyday, really believing this to be the best overall album from the band. To this day, despite it not having any of the big radio hits on it, because the tracks were so long, even though there were edited versions released to the radio, still is something that pulled my interest in and has held me for all these years since that time when I first heard it. Now, before we dive into what's in this Super Deluxe Edition, there are other versions of this. So the remaster from 2003, and then a personal favorite of mine, the 2013 Steven Wilson remix, which is different than the one that's on the box set. I'll get into that in just a bit. But this one here, the instruments are provided much more room to breathe on it. It's a brighter sound, and in my opinion, is the definitive version of the album. I absolutely love this thing. And as far as I know, was only released in Japan. At least that's the only way I've ever been able to find the physical edition of this. Also love the fact that it came with unique album art, or reimagined album art, with this being the original, that being the reimagined in 2013. So very, very cool. But again, all that leading up to what we want to talk about, the Super Deluxe Edition box set version of it for 2025. 53 years on from its release in 72. Not sure why we didn't see a 50th anniversary in 2022, but we are finally getting it, and glad to finally get it. There are 5 CDs, 1 LP, 1 Blu-ray in here. CD number 1 has a new 2025 remaster, and I think that in and of itself is worth it for this alone. Don't know if we'll ever see a standalone disc of the new remaster or not. It would be nice for all those people that don't want to shell out for the box set. By the way, the box set itself, $99, whether I found it to be that price, whether on Amazon or at my local record store. So I think for 5 CDs, 1 LP, and a Blu-ray, that's a very good deal for this. So you are getting that. CD2 has the new 2025 Steven Wilson remix and instrumentals, and I held off on buying it on release day at that time because I wasn't able to confirm whether or not it was in fact an actual new remix version, and how different that remix version would be from the 2013 version that I had here. I was a little afraid that it would just sort of be a remastering of that and not really have anything different to it, so I sort of held off. But I finally broke down, decided to pick this up, and I can, in fact, confirm that it is different. And in fact, it's really different. The sound of it is much flatter and drier than the 2013 version or the remastered version. So it is really different than what has been released before. And I'm not really sure what the thought is behind that. There is some write-up inside here. Maybe there's some discussion on it. I don't know. I haven't gotten into that just yet. But I do hope to find out what Steven Wilson was thinking in terms of this 2025 version versus the 2013 version of it, because there are some big significant differences in what you're hearing. So while it is flatter and drier and not as bright as the 2013 one, there is more atmosphere to it, at least during the portions that have the sound effects, like on the title track and some of the instrumental portions of it. I felt like I was more engaged in that part. And so that in and of itself, very interesting, but still going to lean towards this one here, at least for the time being, as far as Steven Wilson remixes go. Now, CD3, the rarities. This one includes the single release of the song America. The cover of the Simon & Garfunkel song that was only released as a single did not appear on a full-length album of new material. And there's also then single edits of the songs included on Close to the Edge, radio versions, rough mixes, and alternate versions. And all of that, in the end, really adds up to something very nice on the album, because, or that, CD number 3, because the way that it's sequenced, they don't put one of the songs and then 3 versions of it in a row, and then another 3 versions of the next one, and so forth. They actually sequence, keeping a good distance between a repeat of a song. And then the fact that you have, single edit version, then you might have a rough mix version or an alternate version, followed by a Steven Wilson new 2025 single edit version. They're spaced out enough on the disc that when I put it on, I don't feel like I'm hearing repeats of songs. I feel like this is a whole album that I want to listen to. So very, very nice, and great the way that they did this here, as opposed to how some of their other box sets like Talk, which came out and actually sequenced those different mixes of each track, one right after the other, and that kind of bugged me, so I didn't pick that one up. Okay, and then CD 4 and 5, Live at the Rainbow from December 16th of 1972, which incidentally just got a Record Store Day release, is included here. So 9 songs, all 3 from Close to the Edge are performed at the live performance. And I think it actually would have been very interesting if they had chosen to edit that down and put out the album performed live in its entirety in the same sequence. I get it, the whole live show is even more and even bonus like that to get it. But just looking at something that would be a little bit different would have been nice to have gotten that, especially that it had been performed in its entirety by the classic lineup back then. Although, something to point out, Bill Bruford chose to leave before the tour and the promotion of the album, so Alan White is playing on the drums. But the live versions of this are really outstanding. And anyone who knows me and follows my channel knows I am not a big live album fan. So I'm really enjoying and engaged in this. And the fact that we have a brand new 2025 remaster, which is almost as good as the 2013 remix by Steven Wilson, bringing it to a far superior level than the original 2003 edition, in my opinion. Then having that new 2025 remix from Steven Wilson, although not my favorite version, you have that, and you have the live rendition that is on the album, sounding different than both of those. So I feel like I'm getting 3 versions of the album on here, making me very happy that I chose to pick this box set up for one of my all-time favorite albums and one of my favorite albums from Yes. Okay, so we do get a 1 LP edition, and it is of the 2025 remastering of the album. And then you get a Blu-ray in here, which features the new 2025 Steven Wilson remix, the instrumentals, as well as the 2025 remaster as well. You get to hear those in Dolby Atmos and 5.1 DTS HD mix version of the album itself. All right, so after all that talk and explaining of what this is, let's go ahead and take a look at it. And first and foremost, we get the original album art, just like on the 2003 remaster. So we are reverting back to that for this. It is in a book format, a hard cover spine. I like that on the back side of it, the track listing is there. It's not that separate piece of paper that comes off that I then have to store inside. I don't have to open it up to find what I'm listening to, and all of that is right there and easy to get to and look at and know what it is. So let's open this up. When we open it, we get the gatefold version of what's on the inside of the original LP. And you can see that you get 2 in sleeves. And I both like that and dislike it because, one, getting these out of here, and I'll try and show you in a minute, very difficult. Worried about possibly ripping these corners where they are held in. So while I like being able to take this out and have it in a sleeve, and it's a little bit different than the original album art because it has the big Yes logo right in the middle. And then this is the Blu-ray edition. The 4 discs that I actually care about over here aren't in any extra sleeves. So I would rather have the Steven Wilson in a sleeve, or the rarities, or the live album. And since the Record Store Day edition of the live album has actual album art, I'm kind of bummed that my CD edition does not come with that album art. The thing is, though, these are held in very nicely in a hard plastic piece in the middle. It's not foam, and they snap in nicely. You can hear it actually go in. I love that. Very easy to get out. There's a finger reveal right there. And so getting this out here, the corners of this are held in, and I have to bend ever so slightly to get that out. And then there's the release. So tracks are on the back side. I'm not going to try to pop it back in because it actually takes a little bit of work. I have to bend the corner ever so slightly to get it in, and it's not damaged the case at all, but I think long-term use of this or not being very careful is going to lead to these ripping or this bending, and I don't envy that for anyone that happens to. So you get that. Now, my sort of next complaint, and all of my complaints really exist about the packaging. I actually love the content, the sound, everything about this is done very well. But the packaging, not so much. I first of all don't really care for these book style ones, but the way that they held these in make it very difficult to operate. I'm okay with this. This is very easy to operate, but I don't like discs without cases or covers. I want to be able to hold that like the original album art, physical packaging, I mean, that sort of thing. The record and booklet are in this top portion, and they're very difficult to get out. I can get the booklet out very easy, and I'm going to show you that and more. But the LP that's in here, I actually got to slide my fingers in, and I'm working hard. I'm making a face. You didn't really see it. And there's the album that's in it. And nothing really to show on that, so I'm not going to open it and take it out. But what I want to point out is that in sliding that in, these holes are actually cut through, so the vinyl actually hits and gets held up on those tabs that are slid in. And so you got to really kind of finagle it and be gentle about how it's going in to get that back in. So that's the overall sort of format or styling of the way that this all comes together, which for me at least leaves a little bit to be desired. This booklet, very, very thin, not a lot happening. It's not hard-backed the way the box is. I'd almost rather the booklet be affixed in the middle of it so that it's literally more like a book than something that I gotta pull out. But I do like this album art, and I have to say I almost would have rather have had that as the cover to distinguish this, and maybe if we ever get the 2025 Steven Wilson remix, this is the art they will use to separate it from this one, and of course the original, who knows. But for right now, this is the way that the booklet is, and we'll open it up and you get some great photos, and you also get a nice little write-up. And when I say little, it is 2 pages. It's just that front piece and then this piece, and you get some more cool big shots, but we go right to the lyrics like on the original sleeve of the vinyl version. We get a breakdown of everything that's on the back side of it, just telling us once again, and the last page. That's it. So I don't know, there's page numbers. There are 11, 12 if we count the back side. 12 pages total in this thing. And I did want to just open this up and show you the whole artwork to this thing, which, like I said, is a very beautiful thing in and of itself. So I just wanted to make that stand out for you guys. But okay, so bottom line on this box set, I think it's great to finally get an expanded edition of Close to the Edge. It's a fantastic album. It's a personal favorite of mine, as I said, but I do think it is the definitive Yes album. I do like it more than Fragile. I know a lot of people would say that, but with that album only having 4 band compositions and 5 solo compositions, I don't really rank it as high as an album like this. I think the content is really good for what's included in the box set. The remastering, the upgrade to the audio quality of that is far superior than the 2003 version, so really warranting having a new remastering of it. The 2025 Steven Wilson remix, as I said, it's interesting to hear. It is not my definitive version. I will stick with this one, and I am a little bit bummed they didn't include this one in it, albeit me already owning it. I'm glad I don't have to repeat it, but for those that have never gotten to hear this one here is so much superior. In fact, this Steven Wilson remix is the first time that I would ever say that I don't like something that he has done, that it is not as good or better than the original, whereas all the other Steven Wilson remixes that he's done for like Gentle Giant, Jethro Tull, these other Yes albums, I think he has always enhanced and made the recordings better. So this might be the first downturn for him, or he already did a definitive one and he needed to come up with something different, so he decided to go in opposite direction, making it drier. I don't know. But like I said, it's interesting to hear. I'm glad to get it as some kind of bonus content. What I really like are the instrumental additions that are on here. I've always loved the musicality of Yes, and getting instrumental additions of the songs, including the 2025 remix versions of it, are worth it in and of itself right there. When I heard that there would be instrumental additions, I really got excited about this box set. And as I mentioned with CD3, the rarities, the way that that is sequenced, having those edited versions, the ones that were released as the single editions or the radio editions, I've always really liked that. They've been on best of and compilation albums, but they've not been sequenced on an album like this in its entirety. And I think it's really great to get those and hear them, because I always felt that the songs where they were edited down come across differently than when you're hearing the 19-minute edition of the title track and you're hearing a 3 to 4 minute version of a piece pulled out of it. Entirely different way to hear that piece. And I would love it if eventually they would actually do edited versions down of the individual tracks that build up the whole, resequence it as an album, taking them out of the original sequence and having them like standalone songs as opposed to the 3 tracks that make up the album. I think that could be a very fun new thing for an album, or a way to hear an album in the future. And so that in and of itself, I think is great. And then, as I already mentioned, CDs 4 and 5, Live at the Rainbow in London from 72. The sound on it is fantastic. The instrumentation is all up front. You really hear the organ being played. You really hear the bass on it and all the other instruments. And it's not all up front in your face so that it's a mishmash. It actually all breathes really well. And for a 1972 live recording, absolutely outstanding. If I had to guess, I would say this thing has been remixed, although no information has been provided about that. I think it's just really well recorded in the remastering of that recording to what it is that we're hearing. So I have to say, all in all, I give this thing very high marks for what's included in the content. While I don't really care for the overall packaging and think they could have done a little bit more there, it is nice for what it is and for the cost of it. I think this thing is really valuable and would highly recommend any Yes fans picking this up. If you're a first-time Yes fan, but you find that you love Close to the Edge, it would also be very worthwhile for you. All right, everyone. So hopefully you enjoyed this. Let me know your thoughts if you chose to pick this box set Super Deluxe Edition up. If you have heard the 2013 edition or any of the other variations on it, I would love to know your thoughts on that as well, especially the new 2025 Steven Wilson remix on it. And if you know information about why Steven did one mix the way he did versus another, go ahead and let me know that as well. I'm interested to get all your knowledge on this as well. All right, everyone, take care, have a good one, and I'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.